No, we do. We have some people who are going to be sitting. I need 8 chairs. They're going to sit 15 minutes before. Just in a circle. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Doc. Yeah, I just. Do you want to share with us where we all going to sit? Okay, I'll bring a chair with us. Nice to meet you. I'm Lucia. I'm Sue's friend and I was her power of attorney. Well, never mind. Well, I'll support Chris Ruth. Yes, yes, yes. I think I saw you at the memorial. Yeah.
We got time. I can't. I'd like to welcome everyone here, and those on YouTube as well, for this service to honor and remember our dearly beloved Sue Witte. I am Alice Martin. I'm a member of this congregation and a member of our Pastoral Care Team. A few quick notes. There will be a reception after the service, and I've seen the table. You'll want to go down there. And all are welcome to attend, to be in community as only Sue still brings us together. There will also be, I think, Lucia, downstairs cards. Did we do that? Yes. Cards to pick up as you leave, to send a personal note to those who you might have been meaning to connect with and just haven't had time. You don't need to write in the margins or dribble onto the envelope. Just a note to pass forward the legacy that Sue has given to us that we pass on to others. One last note, the order of service you have in your hand is not accurate. And this does happen in our lives. So we have dealt with it and just follow our lead, and some of it's right, but you don't know which isn't. So we got this. So let us begin this celebration of Sue by the lighting of our chalice. Joe and Joanne.
The light of this candle represents this gathering of people as a time to mourn, but also as a time of celebration. It keeps guard over our hearts as we mourn the loss of Sue from our physical presence. It warms us as we remember the gifts of Sue's life to us. It enlightens with the belief that death is not an ending, but simply a new beginning. Next, we will sing the hymn Blue Boat Home from the Blue Hymnal, number 1064.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Kathy Weideman. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church, and that is where I met Sue. I think she was the very first person I ever saw standing at the door when I walked in, and it certainly wasn't the last place, as we all know. And I'm guessing Sue brought you all to new places, and you have seen her in many, many ways. I'd like to share with you a reading called Leave Taking by Sandra Burry. When the coming of your death became an awareness on the planet, some wondrous events began. The word went out that you were preparing to leave this place that you call home. The word was heard by the wind, and it promised to blow under you and push you. The clouds heard the wind and billowed for joy. May you land on us and float for a while. In the presence of your impending death, the earth prepared to send you forth. The gravity that held you so tightly began to loose its grip. It called, let loose, let loose, let loose and fly. When the moon heard this, it shouted, prepare, a life well lived is approaching. Your soul knew it was going home, home to the light, home to the sun, and home beyond home, beyond home. And it met with all that it had always known, the silent and brilliant mystery, the source with all the ancestors gathered round, enfolded you and danced your coming, while far away in the world you had known, a group of your loves and friends gathered to speak your praises, to sing your living, and to forever remember.
We are here today. We are gathered to remember Sue Witte and all that made her who she was, all that delighted her, that made her laugh or moved her to tears, calling to mind her story and the many lives she touched along the way. We are here to honor her life, her outlook, her inner strength, and the things she believed in, recognizing her goodness, her uniqueness, her own special gift she shared so generously with the rest of the world. And we are here to celebrate Sue and her connections with family and friends and all who loved her, feeling enriched for having known her, and so grateful for our time with her, and affirmed for us this is how a meaningful life could be lived. One of the ways that Sue found meaning was in an eclectic spirituality that encompassed many traditions that she found meaning from and that really fed her spirit to give back as she had been given to. Three of those that we think about are her community here at UU, the Sisters of the Humility of Mary, and the Prairie Star Sangha. I didn't say that. Prairie Oaks. So I just want to take a minute, and then Sister Lynn and Joyce will do as well, about what it has meant to have Sue be a part of this community. When I first met Sue 15 years ago, she was the go-to person in this congregation to give pastoral care to everyone. She had the energy and the caring capacity to fill the needs of those in our community and worked tirelessly to do what she could to all those in need. I remember clearly one day sitting in a coffee shop with Joanne Macheco, Ed Hazen, and Sue, and myself, as she was talking of those of how she could better assist people. The idea popped up in somebody's mind that maybe we could expand the congregation into being many Sues through creating a pastoral care team to expand our caring. Sue did not hesitate. She jumped on the idea, and she helped us to envision and implement a program of congregational caring, ending with the foundation of our present Pastoral Care Associates program. Sue embodied for me the elusive ideal of a beloved community that we as Unitarians strive to live. By letting go of her lone mission to bring caring to others and stepping back and opening up the opportunity for the more to care for the many. That was Sue, our grandmother of our pastoral care team, a humble person whose work was done without the need of recognition or reward. She stitched our community through her threads of caring and regard for the well-being of everyone she met. Her essence, her life lived within our community and into the world, is perfectly stated in one of Sue's quotes she often used. "I am only one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do." She lived that into our community and into the world. And we are all enriched for her not refusing to do something that she could. I invite Sister Lynn.
Good afternoon. I'm Sister Lynn Mosel. I'm a member of the Congregation of the Humility of Mary, or Sisters of Humility. And I'm one of the associate co-leaders. So Sue became an associate with the Congregation of the Humility of Mary 50 years ago in 1973. She had already formed a bond with at least one of our sisters when the community was first beginning the associate relationship for lay women and men who identify with our spirit and mission and live it in their own lives. It was a privilege to review Sue's annual written commitments as an associate over the years. That, together with what I know personally of Sue, painted a beautiful picture of her spirituality in relationship to the spirituality of the Sisters of Humility. Some pieces of that spirituality are foundational. For example, the importance of prayer, ritual, and community. Her relationship with the Sisters of Humility included shared prayer experiences as well as the mutual exchange of a global perspective and learning about other cultures. Sue was far ahead of her time in the understanding of the unity of all peoples and faiths and the unity of humanity with all of creation. I believe she and the sisters nurtured this understanding in one another. Sue's commitment as an associate was taken seriously and thoughtfully. She was eager and ready to contribute her gifts and resources for the whole. Sue was amazing at getting to know others, recognizing their unique gifts, and connecting people with one another. Sue did not keep any of her spiritual treasures for herself, including her wide breadth of experiences and learnings, but eagerly shared them with others, including her students. It is clear to me that connecting with people and breaking bread with them was a spiritual experience for Sue. And to meet her was to be affirmed and welcomed, and to know that you were seen. Part of Sue's written commitment was to convey to others a bit of what it means to be a woman in love with life. And to that I would have to say, well done, Sue, well done.
My name is Joyce Singh, and I used to practice meditation with Sue in many different places. One was in LeClaire in the country. I wanted to read, the way that we would practice would be in the tradition of Plum Village, and Thich Nhat Hanh was our teacher, Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh. I wanted to read an ending of one of Thich Nhat Hanh's poems. It very much reminds me of Sue, the depth and beauty of her person, who she is. It's a very well-known poem. It's Please Call Me by My True Names by Thich Nhat Hanh. The last part of the poem. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the 4 oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and my laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so I can wake up, and so the door of my heart can be left open, the door of compassion. I feel deeply that was Sue's practice of an open heart. I have many wonderful memories of Sue. I wanted to share, well, one of her favorite words was serendipity, if you might recall. And I serendipitously looked up her name today before coming. Sue means gentle beauty. And it's from the lily of a flower. I always remember Sue's connection with flowers. She would send me pictures of flowers to meditate on, to look at, and she, of course, loved sunflowers. I wanted to share, first of all, I wanted to say Sue would float about so many communities. She was a community builder. Thich Nhat Hanh speaks about building communities, actually he says, is like planting sunflowers, no joke. Planting sunflowers, knowing the conditions, nurturing the conditions for the growth and beauty of a flower to express. Sue did that well. One thing that I think of when I think of Sue was boundlessness. She had no boundaries. She did not build up walls. She connected with people from many different traditions, cultures, lifestyles, many people. She really wanted and lived. She wanted fairness. She wanted harmony, and that's a word that she used frequently with me. She said her studies of Taoism is what brought her to her studies of Buddhism. She could see the connections, and then, of course, with the Sisters of Humility, the connections she would share with us. So she wanted harmony. And then you have the singing over here, harmony. So it's beautiful that that continued with her. I wanted to share simply what our practice was coming together in the country. Again, boundlessness was, we would practice sitting meditation in silence, but we knew we were with the birds and the trees and the flowers. There was a clear connection of no separation. That was a joy. Walking meditation. After a sitting meditation, we'd go outside early on in the summertime. We would take off our shoes. Yes, Sue took off her shoes, and we'd walk in a circle outside. And if there were gnats outside, you welcome the gnats. You live with the gnats, and then you go back in, and then we had a second sitting meditation, and then a time of sharing of joys and suffering or concerns. I wanted to share a short sharing that I gave in a Dharma sharing circle. And I don't know why it held so strongly for Sue, but often when I would see her afterwards, she would bring this up to me and she'd say, "Do you remember that?" So it was around this time of year, a number of years back, at a meditation, and I shared that a storm had gone through and all of my sunflowers were knocked over, uprooted. And she was very sad about that. And I had to bring them to the compost pile. But the next Friday when we met for meditation, the sunflowers somehow had found their rooting in the compost. and had pulled himself back up. So she was able to see that, and it just brought her much joy. So those simple things in life, those simple joys, and being aware of. I thought that we could do just a very short sitting meditation. This is in our practice. So if you sit up straight but relaxed, and both feet on the floor, so you know your contact with the earth, the blue boat home, here our home, we are home, and bringing our attention to our breath, just accepting our breath just as it is. Don't try to change it. This is a wonderful thing we do all the time and we're not aware of. So just stopping and bringing attention to the breath, to the feet touching the earth. And I will invite the bell 3 times, and we'll just come back to the breathing, following it in and out. And after a short period of time, I'll invite the bell for us to begin sharing again. I want to close with a reading. Before I do that, I also want to bring attention and gratitude to all of Sue's ancestors, and that includes all of the friends that have touched her life, all of the teachers in her life, all of those who have opened their hearts and minds to Sue, and gratitude to the Kim King Temple, the Buddhist Kim King Temple, and representatives of the temple who are here. Suko Lin Diep is not able to join us today, nor Suko Lin Yam. They visited Sue several times with Judith Lee when she was at Senior Star. But we have Suko Han Ton and Suko Lin Han with us today from the Buddhist temple in Davenport. Thank you so much. That Buddhist temple is Suko Lin Diep's home temple in Hue, Vietnam, is the sister temple of Thich Nhat Hanh's temple in that area. It's very special that they're here. So I'm going to close with a discourse on love. And I feel that the message in here, the wish, is so beautifully Sue's wish. Is the Metta Sutra. Metta means loving kindness. This is discourse on love. He or she who wants to attain peace should practice being upright, humble, and capable of using loving speech. He or she will know how to live simply and happily with senses calmed, without being covetous or carried away by the emotions of the majority. Let him or her not do anything that will be disapproved of by the wise ones. And this is what he or she contemplates. May everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. May all beings live in security and in peace, beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, invisible or visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do any harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Just as a mother loves and protects her only child at the risk of her own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all living beings in the entire cosmos. Let our boundless love pervade the whole universe, above, below, and across. Our love will know no obstacles. Our heart will be absolutely free from hatred and enmity. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying, as long as we are awake, we should maintain this mindfulness of love in our heart, in our own heart. This is the noblest way of living. Free from wrong views, greed, and sensual desires, living in beauty and realizing perfect understanding, those who practice boundless love will certainly transcend birth and death. By the firm determination of this truth, may you ever be well. By the firm determination of this truth, may you ever be well. By the firm determination of this truth, may you ever be well. Thank you.
We will now have a community responsive song led by, grateful to have with us the Quad City Singing Group. So it's called When I Rise, and that is something in your bulletin that is correct, and it's on the one side at the bottom.
So if you're not familiar with Community Sing, it's created for people that love to sing whether they think they can or not. So it's such a great gift. And so sing a little louder than you would. If you never sing out loud because you're embarrassed, I'd encourage you to sing along. I never met Sue, but just hearing today, I think she'd like to hear your voices today as well. So this is a call and response song, so your words are in the bulletin, but I'll sing the first line, you'll sing it back. Bill will be the backup singer in this piece, I guess. They'll sing with you, all right? And this is a song, When I Rise. The words are by Wendell Berry, and it was part of the Thich Nhat Hanh's song collection. There are CDs of his stuff you can listen to. So here we go. When I rise, let me rise, like a bird, from a tree. When I fall, let me fall, like a leaf, gracefully, without regret. When I live, let me live, like a river, flowing free. When I move on to the next place, let me sing gratefully, without regret. We'll do it again. When I rise, let me rise, like a bird, from a tree. When I fall, let me fall, like a leaf, gracefully, without regret. When I live, let me live like a river, flowing free. When I move on to the next place, let me sing gratefully, without regret.
Thank you for that, When I Rise. We're going to take some time now for some remembrances from people who are not able to be here, as well as any that may have insights further with stories. So Larry, Sue's brother, is not able to be here. He had, I think it was back surgery, and he is at home recuperating. But he did send us a note to be read, and I will do that now. Hope you're getting better, Larry. He starts with a fond memory that he had, and he wrote, "Some of my fondest memories were when we grew up together and attended school in Wheatland, getting our new clothes on and pictures having to be taken on the first day of the new school year. My mother would always pose us for these photos on the front lawn with books in hand, and we always had a new ruler which we used as swords in a dueling match until one of us would cry. That was usually my sister." So he goes on to talk about her graduation from the Wheatland High School, her many sport accolades, went on to UNI, where she received her degree, and went on to teach until her retirement in the Pleasant Valley School District when she was 65. So in that life, more so, especially after she retired, they would visit each other for 2 weeks every year. Larry and Sue would get together. When Larry came to the Quad Cities, Sue would have events planned every day, and always included going through their many pictures that she had gathered over the years. Sometimes Sue would travel south to visit Larry and Sue's niece, Barbara Casey, and her husband, Chris, and their 2 children, Sabrina and Alex. So he goes on to write, "Every one of those visits was memorable, and we exchanged stories about happenings that caused us to break down in laughter until the tears rolled down our eyes." He also wanted to reiterate what we all know so well. Susie is what he called her. Susie loves to communicate with friends all over the world through handwritten notes. Every 2 or 3 weeks, I would receive a handwritten note along with news clippings in a huge brown envelope, and there were also handwritten notes on the outside of the envelope with barely enough space for the mailing address, which we are all aware of. And then he goes on to relay a funny experience. One of the funniest experiences that Susie ever related to me was as she was driving to see our father Lawrence, who lived in the Wheatland Manor retirement home. She was driving along Highway 150 near Maysville about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was a crew of construction workers who were just finished pouring the cement on a new stretch of pavement that needed repair. Now, Susie had just gotten a new car, and it had more speed than she was used to. As the construction workers were ready to put up the barriers to prevent people from driving on this newly poured cement, Susie stepped on the gas instead of the brake and drove right into the freshly laid concrete. The construction workers did not know whether to laugh or to cry, while Susie sat in the car laughing until the tears rolled down her cheeks. After they pulled her out, somehow she was then able to drive the car to Wheatland. Sue probably didn't want to share that too much with us, but we got it, Sue. We got you. He does end with this paragraph. There are probably many other stories that I could come up with, but I am sure that all of her friends that are attending this ceremony will be submitting one too. For this celebration of life, I raise my glass to my sister Susie for a life well lived and enjoyed most of the time. I also want to raise a glass to all the workers at Senior Star for their loving care and commitment that they made and kept for my sister. Most of all, a special glass is raised to Susie's caregiver, Lucia Dryansky, and her husband Bill. Lucia was the best caregiver that my sister and I could have ever asked for. And lastly, for Susie, who was the best sister I could have ever had. Thank you, Larry. We also have several others who were unable to attend, and Lucia and Kathy will split up talking about those.
Many of you who are in our congregation remember the Reverends Carol and Tom Owentoll, and they have been in contact with Sue since they left several years ago to move to Southern California. They have sent along something they would like read today. When we first landed in Davenport, Iowa, in January of 1974, Sue and Bruce Girth were two of our first acquaintances in the Unitarian Church. We became fast friends since Sue was the elementary school teacher of both Jenny and Rusty, and Bruce would occasionally take us on plane rides. Lo and behold, Rusty was soon captivated by flying, and Russ is now a Southwest Airlines captain. Sue and we have maintained an open-hearted and caring long-distance friendship all these decades, sharing written notes and calls, cementing our love for one another. Sue has always remembered as well each of our children with thoughtfulness. She has been an integral partner in our extended family. There has not been anyone quite like her, and we are deeply grateful for her abiding friendship. Sue was always learning and serving, and her whole adult life was dedicated to the spiritual well-being of those whom she met. We both agree that if we were starting a church squad from scratch, Sue Woody would surely be one of our first choices. Rest in eternal peace, dear Sue. We will try to carry forth your precious character and exemplary conduct in the way we complete our own lives. The Reverends Carol and Tom Owentoll.
Is anyone else having difficulty hearing? Could we have the sound up just a tad, Alan? Thank you. Thanks. This is, I think, a testament to Sue is that even after her divorce, she remained friends with her ex. And I also had communications from two of her brother's exes that she, they still love her. And so this is from Terry Wolofsky. I met Susie 28 years ago and enjoyed our times for many years when Larry and I were together. My endearing memory of Larry's sister was her sweet, gentle, and kind manner. She was a devoted daughter, always concerned that her father's well-being was properly cared for. Larry and I enjoyed our visits to see Susie in Bettendorf, where she was proud to introduce us to her favorite Thai restaurant and have us for a deliciously prepared beef stew dinner in her home, along with her friend Dave. Did anybody else know that she could cook under duress?
She delighted in telling us about her travel adventures with him and all the good times they shared. In my view, that was a very happy period for her. Our many Christmas gatherings with our blended families in Boca, Atlanta, or Nashville were special times that Susie looked forward to. On my last visit to see Susie, she invited Larry and me to the prairie, where we met some of her dear friends who prepared a lovely lunch, and then we explored this special spiritual place with all its calm serenity. Above all, Susie loved, admired, and respected Larry and appreciated her brother's guidance. I will remember her always as a gentle soul. Rest in peace, dear one. Love, Terry Wolofsky.
Sue would love how well planned the service is. So this is from Pat Lerner. Sue and I shared a love of sports. That reminds me that she probably would know who Caitlin is from the University of Iowa basketball. As she always remembered to ask about our softball playing granddaughters, and she attended Iowa women's basketball with us. She also remembered to ask about the well-being of my mom and daughter well into her time at Senior Star. She was such a role model for speaking up against injustices of all kinds. She is a gift to all who knew her, and probably too humble to know it. I feel honored to call her friend. Pat Leonard.
And this is from Sue's niece, Barbara. She's Larry's daughter. My Auntie Sue, as she was known to me, was a special person in my life, throughout my life. When I was a little girl, I eagerly awaited the time I could spend with her at the barn in Iowa, where she lived and had large pillows for furniture. These same pillows were my bed as well, and that was such fun. Pleasures with her were always mindful, present-centered activities. Reading a book, interacting with animals, selecting food for our table from the produce stand, cooking it together, picking flowers in a field, or just being. As I grew older, she'd regale me with stories about her travels and bring back pictures and treasures from these countries, India, China, Japan. She loved to travel and had a passion to understand other cultures, other people, and how they lived. She valued life as a minimalist, taking and needing only what was enough. She was an intellectual and valued her inner life. She inspired me to also reflect and go inward to discover who I really am, to know and understand what is important in life. She was a remarkable woman, insightful, wise, and kind. She had a profound capacity to show compassion and understanding of people and the world around her. I am extremely grateful for having had Auntie Sue in my life to teach me the value of living each moment as if it were a precious gift. In closing, I share this poem that made me think of her by Rupi Kaur. Funeral. When I go from this place, dress the porch with garlands as you would for a wedding day, my dear. Pull the people from their homes and dance in the street. When death arrives, like a bride at the aisle, send me off in my brightest clothing. Serve ice cream with rose petals to our guests. There is no reason to cry, my dear. I have waited my whole life for such beauty to take my breath away. When I go, let it be a celebration, for I have been here, I have lived, I have won at this game called life. Rest in peace, Auntie Sue. You are much loved. Barbara Casey.
So we're going to take a moment. If there's anybody that would like to share a story, we do have the mic, and feel free to tell a brief story or anything that you would care to share. So here we come. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I'm Maggie Tinsman, and I'd like to share something about Sue as a teacher. My son, youngest son, Bruce, wasn't at Pleasant View at first, was at Riverdale, which was a school. And my husband was on the school board, and he said, we've got too many people going into fourth grade. We're going to have volunteers go over to Pleasant View. I said, well, you're not going to move my child. He's already having trouble even knowing how to read. After I said that defiantly, I thought, I think I'll go over to Pleasant View and interview the fourth grade teacher. Now, parents aren't supposed to interview the teachers, I realized. I interviewed Sue. I thought, I have found a superior teacher in this Ms. Witte. So I talked to a lot of parents, and I got volunteers. And I said to my husband, I've got your volunteers. You? How did you get them? And I said, because we're moving. We're moving our son, Bruce, to Witte's fourth grade program. Now, my son was not very good right now at all. He did not know how to read. He did not learn in first grade. He was totally on different reading teachers' lists, including in the summer, etc. He was looking out the window at Pleasant View wanting to be the bus driver. And Sue Witte said, but he was very, very good in math. So she said to him, Bruce, meat and potatoes is reading, dessert is math. Well, so he had to do more. Now, he wasn't still very good, but at the end of fourth grade, she was marvelous with him. She called me in and she said, if I were you, I would hold him back until he knows how to read. Because in fifth grade, you have to be a little bit more of a promoter of yourself. And so we did do that. He actually went to St. Catherine's, St. Mark's at the time, and he was there. And he did finally, by the time he was in sixth grade, learned how to read. But then he came back to Pleasant Valley to go to high school. And every time Bruce was in a play, and he loved being in a play, Sue Witte was in the audience, always promoting him because of what he had done. I have a lot to thank Sue Witte for the time and what she did for my son, Bruce. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Maggie.
From all of us at the Kim Kang Temple, we would like to sing No Coming, No Going, and if you would like to join us, we would be honored. No coming, no going, no after, no before. I'll hold you close to me, I release you because I am with you, and you are in me, because I am in you, and you are in me.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
Hello, my name is Kevin Hatfield. I am an educator in Quad Cities for a number of years, and I apologize. My name is Kevin Hatfield. Been an educator for 37 years, and I was blessed to be able to be hired in 1987 in the Pleasant Valley Community School District. And my colleagues, many of them are here today, and we all just have the fondest memories and love for Sue and what she taught us as colleagues. And I just wanted to share, someone mentioned the river and the flowers and the gnats and the flow. That was Sue, the breeze behind us. That was Sue. She's been in my life forever. She's probably written enough cards and letters to my entire family to fill up, just my family, to fill up this room. She had connections. Annie Sue had connections with our kids. My wife, Lynn, is here, and John and Maddie knew her as Annie Sue. But the thing I remember most, I just wanted to share this moment. And when I first started teaching, I had a student in my room, and I went over at lunchtime, and I said to Sue, it was actually on the playground, and I said, Sue, I'm sorry I'm a little late for playground duty. This is how I really got to know Sue. I'm really kind of late. I apologize. There's a lot of kids out here. I really apologize. And but I had, so-and-so was sleeping in the back of the room, and I told him, if you don't get going here with class, and I'm just going to keep you in for recess. And then Sue, as you guys know, kind of leaned over to me, and here I was, this new teacher, and, by gosh, I'm going to follow that Pleasant Valley curriculum, and I'm going to follow every rule there is that we have laid out. And Sue said, gosh, Kevin, maybe what you should do is give him a blanket and then wake him up on time for recess. And I just remember how profound I was hit by that. And that was Sue, really, right there in that moment. And, the fact that that was how she treated children. She was 25 years ahead of personalizing learning experiences for students, 25 years ahead of worrying about climate, 25 years ahead of worrying about the poverty and the impact of poverty on children. The fact that this lady was here to touch all of us, this room says it all, and so many children, as Maggie mentioned, is so, it's very profound. It's unbelievable. And on behalf of my family, my kids, my wife, Lynn, and our staff, I just love them. They're still here. We just want to thank Sue and have Linda Sue. I remember she told me she was Linda, by the way, once. But just want to tell Sue to rest in peace, and thanks for touching our lives.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? I see Rich coming up here.
Well, one of the things that's come up a number of times, and Alice mentioned it early on, is humility. Sue was a humble person, and I think, these folks that have been there that have experienced her teaching to her kids or to them themselves realize that mentoring, that modeling is more important perhaps than anything she could have said. her humility is still teaching me, even in her death, because I realized I was greeting everybody as they came in today, and I thought I was Sue's special friend. We've got a room full of special friends. But that's the way she was, and I think we all were her special friend. And she was so magnanimous. That's another word I could use for Sue. We all have mentors in our lives, and Sue was a mentor for me, for Unitarianism. She helped me, gave me the stories about this church. I remember she was talking at one time about Minister Katie. You probably remember who this was, but the minister was delivered up front in a casket, opened the door to the casket and said, "Welcome, welcome." So many stories. Tom Owen Toll, I think I've got every book that he ever wrote because she was always recommending me to read Tom Owen Toll, and what a blessing that was. But, I used to sit out here for picnic lunches with Sue in her last days. But I guess if there's one thing that I take away from Sue, because I was with her through some of the hard times too, is that the old Chinese saying is, you fall down 6 times, but you stand up 7. And that was Sue Witte. Thank you, Sue.
Darcy.
A witty moment. That's what happened frequently in the youth room around 2004 through 2010. You never knew when Sue Witte would walk into the room and display a witty moment. Within weeks of her starting this pattern, she had the youth group coming over to her home for tea on Sunday afternoon, spread out all over the floor in the living room, teacups. She'd be asking these incredible questions about, what's the most profound thing on your mind today? To somebody age 13 or 14. She shared with my daughter, they really embraced each other in wordplay, and she shared this poem, and they would get together and reread this poem using different voice inflections and different pauses. I wanted to share it quickly with you. The day before yesterday, where was tomorrow? The day after tomorrow, where was yesterday? The day before that, where was the day before that? The day before we met, where were we? Were we together only somewhere else? And tomorrow, though we shan't be together, will we be together only somewhere else?
We'll be thinking of that one for a long time. Thanks, Darcy. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? So appreciate all of you that have, and I know all of our stories are with us, and we'll be downstairs, and the stories can continue.
I have one quick funny story about Sue. She was always so unfailingly kind. And in her last days, she got a little more unfailingly honest, I think, with the help of dementia. And so I was sitting with her one time, and she often didn't want to chat very much. And so I would just sit with her. And I thought, well, I'm just sitting here. I might as well sing. So I sang a song, and she just laid there. I thought she was asleep. And so I sang a second song, and she just laid there, and I thought she was asleep. And I started a third song, and she turned her head. Apparently she wasn't asleep, and she said, "That's enough." So, Sue, I hope you don't interrupt me, but I want to sing a little song as your send-off. This is a song by Melanie DeMore. The first verse is me singing to her friends and family. The second verse is Sue singing to us. And the third verse is all of us singing to Sue. Can I have a seat? Thank you. I am lifting her to the bright blue sky. I am holding you as her soul flies by. So much love I send to your heart to mend. As she flies so high, so free. I am lifting up to the bright blue sky. I am loving you as my soul flies by. In the stars I'll be when you think of me, as I fly so high, so free. We are lifting you to the bright blue sky. We are letting go as your soul flies by. In our hearts you'll stay throughout all our days. May you fly so high, so free.
Thank you, Lucia. Perfect words, perfect song. I was going through a scrapbook of Sue's long experiences of teaching, and I found so many words I've heard used here today, and they were in her scrapbook. Sensitive, unbiased, generous, enthusiastic, resourceful, thoughtful, cooperative, caring, humble, and so many more. But what really caught my attention were these words. Somebody had written, "It is Sue's ability to be all things to all persons, which makes her a woman to be recognized and a person whose influence is profound beyond words." We have used words today as our vehicle of communication, but the undeniable impact Sue had on so many is really beyond those words. The imprint of Sue's life is found within us, as we too strive to learn to live life to absolutely its last drop, as we give our gifts away because we cannot but do so, to be with a person as they are, to listen, to care, to reach out, to be present in the moment, with whatever and whoever you are with. These are the intangibles. These are the profundities of which Sue has left us with, which are not extinguished upon her death, but inflamed within us to burn brighter, to grow deeper, to extend further, and matter to another human being again and again and again. Sue is no longer here to remind us of how to care for each other by example. Sue has left us, but we are not extinguished away from her upon her death. She is now in flight from this earthly blue boat home on to a different adventure wherever it may take her. We have expressed our words. We have expressed our gratitude, our love, our thankfulness for how she enriched our lives. We have remembered her, we have honored her, celebrated her time with us, and now we do indeed send her off on her journey. This is how I envision it might have been for Sue and where her journey has now taken her. Sue did struggle her last years at Senior Star, and with her declining mental and physical health, she did state her desire for death to visit her. I wonder if it might not have been like this. At night, alone and tucked into bed, Sue's mind would wander into a prayer, a conversation with that which is nearer to us than our own breath. Might she not have whispered into the night, "I'm ready to go. I'm ready to join so many family and friends who have left before me. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have given all I have to give. But now I'm tired and my hands are empty. Let this be the night." This prayer would be whispered before she drifted to sleep, only to awaken the next day. Then, on June 8th, a voice came to Sue in her dreams and told her tonight was the day her desire would be answered. And sweeping her up, she was carried along by the wind and the breezes as she went to a faraway place. She was greeted with hugs and embraces by those who had gone before her, so much so that they all melded into one. And amidst all of it, a voice boomed out over the ruckus and the noise and was heard by everyone in the whole universe. "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And in the circle of life, there is our sorrow and there is our joy and everything in between. Thank you, Sue, for showing us the way. Amen. We will raise our voices together and sing Spirit of Life, page 123 in the hymnal. Let's all stand. Let's rise up. For those who can. Come unto me, bring in my heart all the strength of compassion, glory, where are we? Thank you. I'd like to thank Sheila for coming to join us today. Now we will have the extinguishing of our chalice.
Hi, I'm Joanne Macheco, my husband Joe, and we have known Sue since 1974 when we very first moved here. This flickering light is symbolic of the light within Sue that rekindles and joins the flame of the light within you. You carry her with you. You are her voice. You are her hands and her heart. Your love for Sue, her love for you, is that which brings life out of death, light out of darkness. You take her with you, and with her, choose the deeper path of living. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love, which burns as an ember deep within you. It is a love that never dies, and so it is that Sue's love shall be in your hearts and minds forever.
May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which triumphs over death, be in us and among us now and forever. This concludes our service. Sheila.